All right, you could do this, Rory. Your hair's looking good. You're gonna salmon, seaweed, shrimp, Cook the Cork, Allied Kitchen and Bath. Remember all the lines. Keith is the chef. Greater Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival. You're watching In the Kitchen with the Greater Fort Lauderdale. No, I don't like that. You're watching In the Kitchen with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival, presented by Visit Lauderdale. Let's do it one more time. You're watching In the Kitchen with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival, presented by Visit Lauderdale. Nailed it. All right. We made it downstairs into the showroom for Allied Kitchen and Bath. We're here with Chef Keith from Cook the Cork in Coral Springs. Keith, what are we going to make today?
I'm going to make a seared salmon with shrimp and a dashi miso broth with some shiitakes and bok choy.
This sounds really complicated. I'm glad you're here.
It's a very simple dish with a lot of ingredients.
All right, where do we get started?
We're going to start with the broth, which is so simple because most broths take a long time to cook, over 20 minutes. This is literally a few minutes, just with water to start it. We're going to slice some ginger and some garlic. You can help me peel some ginger.
Sure.
The best way to do it is
this a dull knife?
It was with a dull knife so you can't hurt yourself, or like
So
a butter knife.
So we're just going to peel off the edge of the...
Peel off a little bit of the edge. And I'm just going to slice the garlic. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be strained out.
You can smell this.
And the shiitake mushrooms go in at the end, but the stems are woody, so they're edible for flavor, but not for texture. You wouldn't be able to chew them.
So you're just adding the stems to add that woodiness.
The earthiness in the stock.
Okay.
The other ingredients would be a little bit of miso, fermented soybean paste. This is white miso. Usually you see, there's many types, but usually you see white or red, and the white is sweeter, more mild than the red one.
You just answered my next question, is why do you choose that? So I probably failed at this task, but I'm going to
Close enough, and we're going to strain it anyway, so
right.
even if there's a little peel, it's okay. The next ingredient is kombu seaweed.
Kombu seaweed.
Which is, again, not edible for the texture, but used in flavorings.
So you just walked up and down Fort Lauderdale Beach, grabbed some of this, dried it out.
Exactly. And the ginger, it doesn't have to be perfect, and even if there's a little skin on it, we're just using a few slices for texture, for flavor.
So a lot of this is really flavor because you're going to strain it out at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and we're going to saute the mushrooms with the salmon and the bok choy, and then bring the stock back into it and let it simmer for a couple minutes in the pan, and the flavor will come out of the salmon, the shrimp, and we also have the aromatics, the flavor from the broth. Now that the stock is starting to simmer, I add a little bit of mirin, which is a sweet Japanese cooking wine.
Mirin.
Mirin. And this is bonito flakes. It's a smoke-dried tuna with a very smoky smell.
Bonito flakes.
Bonito.
You can smell the smokiness.
So a little goes a long way, just a pinch. And that's after it came to a slight simmer. So you just extract a little bit of flavor from that.
Okay.
And a splash of soy sauce. This is gluten-free soy sauce. It doesn't have to be gluten-free. It's tamari, because it's gluten-free, it's straight soybean. There's no wheat in it, so it gives it a deeper, richer flavor.
So you're using a lot of the ingredients and focusing on the deep flavor inside and not necessarily the texture of what you're making.
It's only for flavor. The
All right.
texture will be in this end of the dish.
Awesome. So we have our stock simmering right now. Tell us a little bit more about the Cook the Cork in Coral Springs. What makes you special? Where are you guys at? How long you've been around?
We've been in Coral Springs. We've had a catering business for 14 years, and the Cook and Cork, the restaurant's been open for 6 years in Coral Springs. We're a 60-seat restaurant, small but global mashup of food, and we have an award-winning wine list, a Wine Spectator Award, a Dirona Fine Dining Award. Even though it's not technically fine dining, it's pretty casual, but we take the food and wine seriously.
And it's a culinary experience from across the globe. So it's not like I'm gonna go there and just get a burger or get wings. You're taking stuff from across the globe and
We actually don't have a burger on the menu.
Perfect.
But, we have dry aged steaks. We have this dish, which is Japanese inspired.
Okay.
We have Eastern European dishes, even a little Mexican influence, some Italian. So it's really a global mashup.
Gotcha. And when your patrons come, I know you guys are part of the Safe and Clean Pledge. Can you walk us through kind of what your journey is to ensure that your guests are safe?
Well, all tables are social distance. We've cut the dining room pretty much in half. Everything is 6 feet apart in the dining room. We've added an outdoor patio with socially distanced tables out there. The menus are on QR codes. Everything is sanitized.
Gotcha.
And
So
we're doing the best we can.
So you guys are taking a step up and ensuring that your guests are safe, they're comfortable, but you're still delivering great food at the same time.
We're taking the safety more serious than the actual food and wine at this point.
That's great to hear. So we've got our stock going, we've learned a little bit more about you guys. What's next on this dish?
Next, I'm gonna sear this salmon. And one of the steps you wanna do when you sear salmon to get that golden crust that you see, a lot of people make a mistake and it's wet, the salmon. So you wanna dry it with a paper towel. And the shrimp also, and drying it is really gonna
So the moisture is
brown
what's
it.
gonna hurt the process.
It'll steam it rather than caramelize it.
Gotcha.
Small bit of soybean oil,
And do you start with a hot pan?
hot pan. And one other trick is when you put the fish in, you wanna get the oil away from you so it doesn't splash up on you. And just lay the fish in gently and bring the oil back.
Gotcha. Chef, while this is searing on side one, we're gonna throw it to a break real quick. We have some partners that we wanna thank.
Great.
So you're watching In the Kitchen with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival presented by Visit Lauderdale. We'll be right back. So we're back in the kitchen with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival. We're here with Chef Keith from the Cook the Cork. So we've seared one side of the salmon. We're flipping it over for the next.
And you can see that golden color.
That looks great. Looks great.
And that wouldn't happen if it wasn't dried off enough. What I want to do now is, you can see there's a bit of oil in there. This is basically a fat-free dish. So I'm going to hold the fish and drain a little bit, if not all. I can get off. It's a Teflon pan. So I'm going to add shrimp. So even though there's no oil in there, the shrimp shouldn't stick.
Because of our Teflon pan.
Yes. And while that's searing, I'm going to cut the shiitakes and the bok choy.
All right. So Chef, while we were at break, I asked you what your favorite dish was on the menu, and you mentioned this is probably one of your favorite dishes.
It's definitely one of my favorite dishes. We also have dry-aged Wagyu steaks, which is, it's a full-blood Japanese Wagyu, which is the same as Kobe beef, but raised in Texas. We have pasta bolognese with also ground Wagyu in there. With so many dishes on the menu, it's really
So it sounds like quality ingredients is really part of your deal.
If you don't start with quality, you're not going to end up with quality. So
that's a good motto to go by.
And the top of the shiitake is a lot softer. So we're getting the flavor from the stems in the broth, and we're getting the actual shiitake.
So this is the mushroom that we're going to eat.
Yes.
Gotcha. Chef, if I tried flipping that, they'd throw me out of this place. You've clearly had some practice.
A little bit. And now, since the broth is ready, we're going to simmer the fish and the shrimp in the broth and extract the flavors from the salmon, all the vegetables, the shrimp. We have the aromatics in this pan.
I'll move this over to make it easy for you.
Great. A little bit of bonito flake in there.
And you're straining just to ensure that you're only getting the liquid.
Yeah. We want it to be a pretty clean broth without any bits of the fish flakes in there. It's on there.
So what makes the Cook the Cork the place to be in Coral Springs? Or West Broward, Northwest Broward?
Besides the food, the wine list is unique. And besides wines, we have craft beers, and I brought a few sakis to display. I would say we have the largest sake collection of any restaurant that's non-Japanese or sushi bar. And it's not just for dishes like this. I really think sake goes well with our Italian food. Pasta bolognese and sake is actually a really good pairing.
I would have never thought that. So I've learned something new this evening.
You can see the shrimp start to curl, they're done. We don't want them to get overcooked, so we're gonna put them on top of the salmon to keep them out of the broth. Let the broth reduce, and then we're
Pretty
good
much
to go.
done. You're ready to plate.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I always think that this is part of my favorite part of the show is to see how each chef designs their plate.
And it's really a simple plate. It's not a lot of worrying where things go, because it's all gonna end up in the bowl anyway. There you go.
And that's it. Chef, this looks fantastic. I know the team behind the scenes can't wait to get into it. Before I let you go, I gotta ask you one question. What do you love about Greater Fort Lauderdale?
Besides all the great restaurants, and not just saying that we have a great one, there's so many great restaurants down here. The dining scene's amazing, but I would say the beaches and the scuba diving.
The beaches and the scuba diving. So you're an avid scuba diver?
I am,
That's
especially
fantastic.
during lobster season.
Where do you go?
Usually off of Pompano. There's 3 lines of reef, and hopefully stone crabs will be there soon. And it's lobster season now.
Nice, nice, nice. Fantastic. Chef Keith, thank you so much. You've been watching In the Kitchen with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival presented by Visit Lauderdale. We're hanging out with Chef Keith from Cook the Cork. Make sure you check them out.